Hello and welcome to my podcast. This is I think this is my third podcast that I've done. And today we're just going to be chatting, talking about traumas, emotional release, how we go about releasing trauma, how trauma stays in the body, and how it can affect us. So let's start. Okay, so welcome to my podcast. Today we're going to be talking about traumas and how it lives in the body and how it then manifests into anxiety, stress, worries, all those goods that we really don't want. Not so good. Not so good. So today we're just going to talk about how, first of all, traumas start in the body, how we manifest them into our realities in day-to-day life. For instance, we could live our lives where we are very anxious, we don't do things because of certain traumas that have been triggered back from our childhood, or maybe it's just during our life, in our relationships, things like that. So let's start with number one. So number one today is childhood trauma. So this could be neglect, this could be childhood abuse, this could be childhood issues that you've gone through. Maybe you've got some kind of neurodivergent issues, sort of like ADHD, going through things that, we go through in life. And it's one of those things where it can bring anxieties on, it can make us stressed, it can make us very, very nervous around a lot of people, especially ADHD, ADD, autism. They're all kind of like, they're like illnesses that they're not seen, they're not visible. And when people don't see them, they don't seem to understand why you're going through what you're going through. So let's talk about how this can manifest as a trauma in the body and how it can cause an emotional response that you then become sort of like your nervous system becomes stuck. Okay, so going into this now. So first of all, you will start to feel that you can't be around certain noises, certain people, certain energies. There'll be certain things that you can't do. Or when you do them, you start to get a reaction in the sense of you feel uncomfortable. You may get very anxious, very nervous. You may start to twitch. You may have things like, if you have something like Tourette's, you may start to do your tics a lot more, and it just becomes like a roller coaster. See, I'm not a doctor. I'm just giving you some ideas of what I know through my own personal journey and through my family members that have these kind of conditions. So if we go into that from like abuse as well, so if you went into like abuse, certain situations may trigger memories of the abuse. You could be in a situation where, let's say something happened to you. We're not going to go into it, but we'll say something happened to you that was quite unkind, very emotionally draining, very upsetting, very scary. And then something happens where you're in a little bit of a similar situation, not necessarily being abused, but somebody sort of trying to take control of you. It then brings back those memories and those emotions, and then they basically, what will happen is when we have a trauma in our body, we don't realize it's in our body. We just think the trauma's here and we remember it where it was. However, the trauma then goes into the body, into the nervous system. And when the nervous system picks up that trauma, it remembers it. And then that goes in a little box that gets stored at the back of the head, or wherever it gets stored. But for me, it's in the back of the head. And you then start to get about your life, carry on, do what you do, go about your life, do your things that you normally would do. However, later on in life, if you don't heal that trauma and you don't deal with that trauma at the time, it will come back. Believe me, being someone who is now agoraphobic and has anxiety disorders, it will come back, and it will come back with a vengeance. Trust me on this one. I'm living it. Unfortunately, I'm having to go through therapy to get rid of it, but it's one of those things, and I'm quite happy to sit here and explain that. I'm very open about it. I don't like it. But, it's one of those things that I'm learning to deal with and to live with and to understand. So let's go into how these kind of things can actually really affect the body. So let's talk about how this can affect the body. So when the brain becomes traumatized and the body becomes traumatized, sometimes we can just think that we can push it to the back of put it to the back of our minds and we can kind of get on with life. That's not, it's easy for a while, don't get me wrong. It's easy for a while, you can do that. But then once you get to that point where you are struggling because it's come back to hit you with a thousand bricks, say, you then need to do something about it. And unfortunately, then you have to go on this big, long healing journey that will take as long as it takes, basically. I'm living proof of that. 10 years later, still going down the same old route. I've been going through this for about 20 years, but 10 years have been the longest for me of serious trauma where I have literally become agoraphobic from it. So just believe me when I say this to you, okay? So trauma needs to be dealt with. Trauma needs to be dealt with very quickly, shall we say, very quickly. Because if you don't deal with it very quickly, the first thing that will happen is that you will start to notice that you become either in pain in your body. So you can get things like chronic pain disorders. You can start to manifest it in the sense of having migraines. You can start to have issues where some people have had seizures. And this is because the trauma is living in the body. Now, it doesn't only live in your body, it lives in your cells. It lives in every part of your being, okay? And this needs to be released. You need to find some way to release it. And there are many ways that you can do this. And I'm just going to talk about a couple that I know can be really, really healing. So let's go into that. Okay, so first of all, to start healing your body, you need to find the root cause. So we need to find the root cause. Now, a lot of therapists and a lot of people, or practitioners, doctors, counselors, those kind of people, they want to go right into the root. They want you to go into it. They want you to open it up. They want you to be in it again. And that is only going to do one thing. That's going to bring up all these triggers, these pains and suffering. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. It's absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, when it does that, you've then got this massive open, it's like an open wound, and you've got to start cleaning it out, start clearing out the stuff. Now, that is amazing to do if you can do that. If you're somebody who needs to talk it through to get it out of you, then you need to do that. But some people, like me, I've been through psychotherapy, I've had counselling, I've had CBT, I've done quite a few therapies, and they just have not worked for me. Instead, what they actually did was gave me acrophobia. So it's one of those, I know where I'm going with this one, because if you get to a point in your life where you really feel like I'm coming out of control of this, like I can't control the situation, I can't control it, you try to go to therapy, you go to your doctor, you speak to people, you take medications, you do all that kind of stuff, and it's great. Some people, it works fantastic. For me, it didn't do that. So for me, instead, I've gone the alternative route, and now you can go whichever direction you wish, but I'm just going to give you my experience on what direction I've taken, and see if it resonates with you and see if it could help you. So the first thing I did was I changed my diet, first of all, because food is basically a massive indicator as to how it manifests in your body and how it can trigger those symptoms to sort of spiral. So I noticed that having caffeine was a big trigger for me, very big trigger for me. So I stopped having caffeine completely, and all I have now is decaf tea. Yes, it's got a slight bit of caffeine in it, but actually I just found that that's much better for me. Also, having herbal teas and things like that has really helped to keep the mind calm, which also helps with the anxiety, helps with the spiraling nervous system going off on one. Another thing that I found was very, very good for me initially was taking supplements. I started to take some supplements. Now I'm not gonna say them here, because obviously I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to try and persuade you to go on supplements. This is just advice, and that's it. Just advice. So that's my disclaimer. There is no telling you what to do here. This is just advice that I am saying has helped me. Okay, so you can kind of go do what you need to do. So basically, I started on the supplements, and they started to really help me. I also tried some natural, like food replacement supplements as well. Really, really good brand of food replacement supplements. So it was just, it was just about my nutrition initially. I thought, get the nutrition right, because I was going through a lot of things, chronic pain, migraines, everything was just way up there somewhere. So you might hear my dog in the background, by the way. She snores a lot. I'm sorry about that. So basically I did that first, and then when I went from the supplements, I then started on alternative therapies, and I sort of saw this lady and she sort of recommended certain things. I tried those. They didn't really work, to be honest. They were okay, but they didn't work. Did some acupuncture, did some acupressure. They worked a little bit, but not as much as they needed to. To be honest, I knew there was more going on. So I went to a shamanic healer, and a shamanic healer did amazing with me, like really helped me a lot. Although I just couldn't afford it anymore because it was quite expensive to go to the shamanic healer. However, it was very helpful initially. So then I stumbled across Reiki, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that Reiki could be so good. I'd never heard of it before. Well, I'd probably heard of it, but when you hear something and then you're like, well, I don't know what it is, so I just kind of put it to the back of my mind. So I had a Reiki session. I had a few Reiki sessions, and I really enjoyed it, to the point where I learned Reiki. So I'm now a Reiki master. I am a complete Reiki master teacher. I teach Reiki as well, and I love it. So all of that in turn really, really helped me to start really building my life back up, being able to do things again, being able to get out of my bed because I was completely bedbound at one point. And it really helped, like it really helped me. And then I found sound healing. Well, when I found sound healing and I put the two together, Reiki and sound, whew, I just found that frequency healing really, really helped me. Vibrations of energy and sound were just bouncing off of me and making me feel so much better. Don't get me wrong, like I say, I'm still anxious. I still have really bad days. I have good days as well, though. You know, I do have good days, but it's just the point in life where I've now found the things that are really starting to help me. And yes, my journey might be taking a while, but I'm getting there. You know, I'm getting there. So let's talk about where I am now and how you can kind of use these tools to help you, even if you don't want to follow any guidance or anything or listen to anything. You can just kind of trial and error, do what you need to do with the guidance and advice that I'm giving to you, because at the end of the day, you're just using energy healing, sound healing, and you can do what you need to do. It's just advice and guidance on what's helped me and how emotional trauma, any kind of traumas can really live in the body. And it's only when I went through the process of it, of learning about the body and learning about how the body reacts to trauma, that I learned the techniques and skills that I needed to by using certain alternative, remedies and things like that have helped me to get better. Like, I'm a lot better than I was. So let's go on to the next part. Okay, so we've talked about me doing all the alternative healing methods that I have. Obviously, we have talked about, obviously you can use counselling, you can do whatever comes your way, whatever you need to do. But just remember, you have to get to the root cause. This is the main thing. People don't realise that there is a root cause to every single dis-ease within the body. Not disease, dis-ease in the body. So if you have a dis-ease in the sense of chronic pain, or you have some kind of like inflammation going on in the body, you have something else going on with you that you can't find a root cause for. It's like, I've been to so many doctors, so many different specialists, and they just can't find a root cause. So they just slap a label on of fibro or arthritis or whatever they can throw at me, because it's just, oh, well, you have a bit of this and you have a bit of that, so we'll just slap a label on it and that's it. That's not finding the root cause. The root cause is something that is deep and buried, and that's how I found that I needed to go within. You need to go within. I feel that you need to go within to find the root cause. You can't just say to somebody, you have this, you have this, you have this, without realizing that actually there's something deeper going on. There's something deeper inside of you. Now, let me talk about what I mean. So what I mean by things that you need to go deeper. You need to go deeper within, and you need to go into meditation. I suggest that people start with like meditation, asking questions while you're in deep meditation, finding the answers from within. Like, listen to your soul, listen to your body, like really pay attention to your body. Really listen to what your body's trying to tell you, because sometimes you don't realize this, but sometimes your body's telling you something that other people can't hear and other people can't see, and specialists can't find it because there's no actual evidence on, x-rays or scans or anything like that, or in your blood tests. It all comes back normal. So then you're frustrated because you're thinking, well, there's something definitely wrong with me, but there's nothing showing. That's because it's manifested within the body. The body knows what's going on. It's just you've got to find it. And the only way you're going to do that is by really, really listening to your body, listening to your mind, and really going within and saying to yourself, when did this start? How did this manifest? How did this start? How did this come about? What is it that I'm going through, and why am I going through it? And what might have caused it? And I tell you now, that is the first step to really finding the true cause of what is going on with you, why your emotional trauma or the trauma that's inside of you is manifesting in physical ways, like the way that you're feeling, the way you're unwell, or things are happening to you and you have no answers. It's because it's inside. It's like it's in there, it's in your cells, and you need to release it. So how can we go about releasing any traumas or releasing any emotional traumas that are going on in the body that we can't physically see and we don't really know where it is or why it's there? So how do we heal it? Okay, so let's talk about healing traumas, okay? So there are many, many things out there you can try. There are things, like I say, you can go to a counselor, you can have CBT, you can do neuro-linguistic programming, you can do mindset changes, you can do, ice baths, you can do anything you want to do. You can have all these things thrown at you, but again, you still have to get to that root cause. Now, when you suddenly find you have found your root cause, you will know. You will just know, because it will feel like, oh my God, I know this is what's been going on with me. This is what I'm feeling. When you open it up, okay. Now, like I said earlier, people might try, like for instance, counselors, they want you to go deep into it. They want you to open it back up and talk all about it and bring all them traumas back up. And that can really, really trigger you and make you worse. Some people prefer to just know where it is, which is my kind of method. Know what the trauma is. We know what has happened. We don't need to go back into it. We don't need to, relive it and talk all about it if you don't want to. Instead, what you can do is you can kind of learn to draw a line on it, sort of forgive yourself, learn forgiveness, learn to understand that you're not to blame for what happened to you. Learn to understand that sometimes in life, people do things that we have no control over. We literally have no control over what they're doing. So the best thing for you to do at that point in your life is to understand that you are not at fault. You're not to blame. And if you sit back and listen to yourself and understand that you're not to blame, you will find the way forward. Okay, so this will take you on a beautiful healing journey. So let's talk about how you can go on your own beautiful healing journey and how you can start this. Well, first of all, you have the cause. You have the cause in your mind. You feel that you know what that cause is. You know how to deal with it. There are many things, like I say, many modalities that you can do. Now, one of the best, 100% in my mind, is somatic exercises. You can see somebody who does somatic practices or somatic exercises to help you to be, it sort of basically puts the body into sort of stress positions that helps you to release. And you will find that sometimes they'll put you in a position where you're sort of doing a child pose, so you'll have like your knees will be bent and your feet on the floor, and you'll be in like a squat position, and suddenly you'll start to shake and you'll feel uncomfortable and your body will be shaking, and you may start to cry or have these symptoms that just come out of nowhere. And what you do is you allow it. Okay, you just allow that energy, you just allow yourself to cry, you allow yourself to shake, and eventually what will happen is the shaking will stop, the crying will stop, and you will feel like, oh my goodness, like that was a relief. So there's things like that you could do. Again, you can also try Reiki, you can try some sound therapy. For me as well, I also use a frequency device. So this frequency device that I've got, it's a brilliant, I'm not going to name it here, but it has got so many healing frequencies in this device. And if anybody would like to know about that, you can send me a message below and I will send you the link to where I bought mine. And it is awesome. Like, it has got so many, it's got like mental balance, chakras, bioenergetic energy. Oh my God, it's got so many things like local stimulation. So when I'm having a migraine, I pop some electrodes on the back of my neck. And once I pop them on the back of my neck, leave them on for 20 minutes. And like that, the headache sort of it's gone. So again, there are little things that I use at the moment. So for me, I would say it's been a very long process to get to this point. But I do find that talking it out as well can really help to release it from the body. You don't need to go right into it and start talking about everything that's happened to you. You don't need to go into it to the point where you feel like, oh my goodness, I've got to relive it all. You don't need to do that. What you need to do is find the root cause. Once you've found the root cause, you then find a modality or a healing practitioner, or you find a way, you find a healing modality that works for you, and then you follow that journey. And once you go through that journey, believe me, it will feel like, it will just feel like a dream. Like, oh my goodness, what a relief, what a release of energy that you were pent up holding. Because again, the body holds it in the cells, the body holds it in every part of your being. And not only does it hold it in your cells and every part of your being, it's in your aura. So it's in your auric field, it's in all of your energy all around you. And the only way you can release that is to sort of find the root cause, go into it, sort of, if you want to pick it apart, that's absolutely fine, because that might be what you need. I didn't need that. And unfortunately, when I did that, this is where I ended up. So now I'm having to unpick that. I'm now having to unpick that problem and bring myself out of it. So again, just understand that trauma doesn't just happen to you and it goes away. That doesn't happen. It's never going to happen. Trauma happens. And if you don't, at that point when you have trauma, deal with it and literally, release it from the body, the mind and the soul, it will manifest, and it will stay there, and it will manifest into other things like illnesses. So if you have a random illness that's just come on out of nowhere after many, many years of being okay, or maybe as a child when something happened to you, suddenly you started to get pain in certain issues and things that were going on with you. You might have had like a joint pain, or you might have had like headaches started randomly, and that's manifested into migraines and things. There may be a root cause of that, and that could be the trauma that you didn't deal with if you didn't deal with it as a child. So again, trauma doesn't just live in the body either. It's in every part of you. So it is, again, in your auric field, it's in your energetic body. So it will spread and it will live there until you open it up. I really hope today's little podcast has given you some advice and a little bit of guidance, if nothing else, just to tell you that you're not alone. You're not alone, and you will never ever be alone, because there's always someone out there that's gone through a situation very similar, or if it's not similar, they've definitely gone through something that may be able to guide and help you through to healing. So if you are enjoying my podcast, do click on that subscribe button below, and also click on that bell, and you'll be notified every time that I post content. If there has been some noise in the background, Snory dog might be one of them, and there was loads of birds earlier. I do apologise, I've had to come in the kitchen today. But yeah, thank you for being here, and I hope to see you all again on my next podcast. Take care, guys.